Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 6, and we're going to be talking about the high side and the low side of Type 6s, sometimes referred to, as the paths of integration or disintegration. What sixes look like under stress and what they look like when they are healthy, when they're doing well, when they are relaxed and calm. And so we're going to be diving in and looking at the loyal skeptic, the loyalist. But to begin with, let's talk about some general things about sixes. Sixes are sometimes called the loyalist on different handouts, different websites. But I think loyal skeptic is loyal/skeptic is better because sixes are kind of a mixed bag. I mean that they are sometimes referred to as sweet and sour or hot and cold, and they do kind of bounce back and forth. They want to be very loyal. That's their nature, is to want to be loyal, to want to be trusting, to want to be counted on and dependable. But there's always that skepticism somewhere at some level in the six as to whether or not that loyalty is going to be reciprocated to them. And so they tend to remain a little bit suspicious, sometimes a lot suspicious, as to whether or not others are going to be there for them, and as to whether or not they can trust the authorities that are in power to really take care of them and to really be supportive of them and to have their best interests at heart. So sixes, they can be, when they're on your side, they're on your side. But if you give them reason to doubt you, or if sometimes you don't have to give them reason to doubt you, sometimes they just have reason to doubt you, and they're suspicious, then it's hard for them to, really feel like they can attach their trust and security to you. So, in this series of high and low, we're talking about a metaphor for each type, like a cabin in the woods. So the cabin in the woods for six is their cabin would have sticks on it. That's their home. That's where you live. And on either side of your cabin, down one lane, you have another cabin that's got neighbors in it, number 7. And then on the other side, you've got a cabin with some neighbors in it, cabin 5. And you can go to either one of these cabins, your neighbors, and borrow from them if you're under stress or you're not sure how you should orient yourself or how to relate to other people. You can wander down to your cabin 7, for example, and pick up some of the characteristics of 7. That wing 7 can help 7s maybe be a little more lighthearted, not so overstressed. They could help you be a little more focused on what are we doing next and how can we enjoy it, and maybe we can just relax and be happy, and we can get caught up with people and caught up in the moment and just enjoy ourselves and not take everything so serious. And that can be really helpful for sixes, because sixes are the proverbial fear type. And so they could, if they weren't aware, they could really kind of bunker in and hunker down and isolate themselves from others and just get trapped and overwhelmed in fear. So that 7 wing could really be helpful to you as a 6. And then down the other lane, is cabin 5. And cabin 5, is all about observation and investigating and getting to the facts and sorting through the facts, sorting through all the data to get to the best data and information. That can be very helpful for sixes as well. Rather than, being afraid of everything that could happen, the 5 wing helps you analyze the situation and assess the information to better come up with a plan that's based in reality, not just based in your fears or based in your proposed realities or your projected realities of what could go wrong. When you lean on the 5, you're observing the data in front of you and assessing, real information, and that can help relieve some of your stress and worry, because as you observe the real world, you might realize I'm not really in as much danger as my mind might tell me I'm in when I actually observe reality. And if you are in danger, that 5 wing can help you develop, a better plan based on real information, not just internal fears or proposed fears. So those neighbors can be very good at balancing you out. If you tend to go to one more than the other, then try to learn to get to know the other neighbor just as well. And as you lean on both neighbors, you become much more balanced as a 6. And, we want to talk about the up and down relationship, though, the high and low. The low, think of it as at the bottom of that hill, you have an outhouse. And that outhouse for you is your number of disintegration. It's where you go when you're in stress. It's where you go when you need relief. Okay, so an outhouse. You go down to the bottom of the hill, which for you is a 3. For a 6, that's Enneagram Type 3. And you go up to the top of the hill, way above your cabin at the top of the hill is where you can eat from the fruit trees. The orchard that grows up on top of the hill is Enneagram Type 9. So let's talk about, what it looks like when you go down to the bottom of the hill to the outhouse and, under stress, what that looks like for a Type 6. Okay, so you go to 3. What does that mean? Well, 3, is the achiever. 3 is the type that looks at obstacles and then figures out how to overcome them. Always is going to land on their feet. Always is going to stand tall and proud and look good doing it. Is very concerned about where they rank with everybody else. They want to pull out in front of the crowd and they want to win. It's not enough just to finish. The achiever wants to win and they want to distinguish themselves from the others and be admired for their ability to accomplish. Okay, so when a 6 who normally is concerned about group dynamics, is concerned about fitting in, for example, is concerned about cooperating and relating to everybody and egalitarianism and all those things that make 6s great, that they care about the community, they care about all of us, nobody falling behind and not getting too far away from the group. When 6s are under pressure, when 6s are under stress, when 6s feel like somebody's coming for them to get them, then you'll see at times when a 6 is under stress, them sort of pull away from the group. Now they may be pulling away like a 3, to overachieve so as when, the office manager comes, well, you can't fire me because unlike everybody else, I followed all the guidelines and all the protocols and all the rules. Or unlike everybody else, I'm networked in with the right people and I relate well and a good relationship with all the important people. And so you might see a 6 sort of move away from the group to overachieve or to over-prepare for whatever challenges they think might be coming. Or you might see them withdraw from the group in a sense like lag behind. Like, I don't know if I can give my support to this. I don't know if I, can really jump in with everybody else. I've got my doubts and I've got my reservations about these policies that our boss is implementing. And so I'll quietly, subversively, you might say, or let's use this word, covertly, move myself over here away from the group and sort of show my quiet suspicion and disdain for what is being enacted and trying to be placed on all of us. And you'll see a 6 kind of move away from the group, because 3s do that. 3s move away from the group in the sense that they move away and overcome, right? They become leaders. They distinguish themselves. And so a 6 might, when they're not healthy, or when they're under stress, we should say, when they feel overwhelmed or frustrated or threatened, you'll see them either move away and look at how I'm doing better than everybody else, and so you better not come and try and get me, because I'm the one who's keeping this together. I'm the one who's achieving. I'm the one who's overcoming. I'm the one who's accomplishing more, getting it all done on the due date. The facts are straight. Everything's handed in. The margins are, whatever they are, quarter inch. All of it's done perfectly. I followed all the guidelines, protocols, and rules. And so you'll see them move that way, or you might see them, just sort of move away, usually in like a cohort. Like a cohort. They want to get 2 or 3 or more other people with them, and they'll plant doubt in those people's minds and suspicion in those people's minds. Like, maybe we need to move over here because our organization isn't moving in a safe direction. And so we need to, isolate ourselves over here until, things blow over. Okay. So 6s can become paranoid and mistrustful. They can get caught up in fear. They can question endlessly and never really feel like they get a resolve or an answer that maybe they can live with. And when they're in that state, even if you answer their first question, you can expect there to be a second question, and you answer that, there can be a third question, and this can go on forever. In theory, this could go on. And no matter how many experts they might go to and speak to, they may never feel like they ever really can be 100% sure. In fact, when they get to the end of all their questioning and all of their information gathering, data gathering, they might be just as confused as when they started. Well, now that I've done all the research, and now I've read all the websites, and now that I've talked to all these, homeschool moms, I still don't know if I should vaccinate my kids, for example. Take a subject like that, vaccinations. That's kind of one of those conspiracy theories. And I'm not saying there isn't anything to it. I'm just saying that's exactly one of those kinds of examples that, could easily divide friends. You don't vaccinate your kids? Oh my goodness. Or you vaccinate your kids? Oh my goodness. And so you could take a subject like that, and I'm telling you, you go online and you read about it, and you could watch YouTube videos on it, and you could read all kinds of books and journals, and you're going to get all kinds of conflicting answers as to whether or not it's safe, quote unquote, to vaccinate your kids. By the time you get done reading all of that information, what I'm saying is most of us that aren't 6s, most of us either aren't asking those questions, or we're going to shrug our shoulders at some point and say, well, what are you really going to do? I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And, at the end of the day, we just hope for the best, and we just recognize that there's always a risk, but there's a risk if you don't, there's a risk if you do. And whatever, I gotta make a decision because they got to get enrolled in school. The 6, on the other hand, could read all that information and still get to the point, where it's D-Day, and they've got more questions than they had when they started. And so just imagine those of us that aren't 6s, and I have a 6 wing. In fact, I'm a 7 wing 6, so it's my dominant wing. I can pick up a lot of that suspicious conspiracy kind of energy that doubts yourself all the time, that can doubt yourself, where I don't know if I really know enough, or I feel like I know enough, but then if somebody starts questioning me, or somebody starts pointing me to other viewpoints and positions, well, then maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I need to do a little more thinking about this. Maybe I need to hear some more voices, some more information. And 6s, I think, it's just constant. There's that constant sense of always wanting to arrive at a sure conclusion, but sometimes not feeling like you're able to really be 100% on board with a lot of things in life. So 6s can get caught up, in that doubt, worry, speculation, gathering of information, sorting through information, and can become really quite suspicious people, kind of caught in conspiracies. A lot of sixes I know are very political. They kind of operate under that mindset that this party will keep us safe. This party will keep our environment safe. This party will keep us safe from terrorists. This party will let us keep our guns, and this other party, is out to get us. And they're going to put us all in concentration camps, and they're going to, take our guns, and they're going to, give marijuana to our kids, and, they're going to legalize prostitution. They're going to make us kill our babies. And it's like, if you don't agree with them on that political view, I know ones can be like this too. And so can other types. I get it. We're over stereotyping. I understand. So don't hit the panic button. I'm over stereotyping. I'm over generalizing on all these videos. But sixes, if you doubt them and you question them when it comes to things they have made up their mind about, like sometimes politics, not only are you not educated, but you might get branded as downright evil, because how could anybody in their right mind support the other position? And what's ironic is, there's sixes on both sides or all sides of these political debates, and they're probably thinking the same thing. How could anybody be on the other side of this issue? Sixes live with that proverbial thought that they're coming to get us. Who's they? I don't know. Could be anybody. But they're coming to get us, and they live with that kind of hot breath of the wolf pack on their neck, always breathing down their neck. And they're trying to stay one step ahead, of the people coming to get them, coming to take something of theirs or attack them or get them fired or, take over their neighborhood or whatever it is. It's fear is what it is. It's fear. And when sixes are unhealthy, they live in that state of fear. And when you're afraid, the old saying, right? I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. And that's when you see sixes trying to win the race. They're trying to win the race, not because they need the prestige or they need the applause or they need to be admired, but they're trying to stay one step ahead of whoever's out to get them. Okay. So when they're in that state of doubt, and mistrust, sixes can be impossible to satisfy. They can become downright mutinous, mutiny. They're going to get their cohort together and convince those people that you are not a safe person and that they should have their doubts and suspicions about you. And, sixes believe there's power in numbers. And so they'll develop often around them a cohort of, you might say, flying monkeys, of like-minded people who have doubts, maybe for other reasons. And in that group, they'll find, support and strength, because that's something that sixes lack, is they lack that inner support and strength from themselves. And so they often go out looking for others to provide that for them. I know I'm being hard on sixes, aren't I? Maybe it's because I have such a strong six wing, I react against it, in myself. But sixes, sixes are looking for support. Somebody had said that sixes, it's like their internal system of guidance, their internal guidance system has been damaged. And so they're caught in a perpetual distrust of their own ability to solve problems. And so they rely externally on information, on others' opinions, on authorities, on groups, on crowds, on polls. They rely externally on others for assurance that they're headed in the right direction and they're headed toward what's going to keep them safe. Which is ironic because 6s are known as the problem solvers. You know, they are perpetually projecting scenarios of what could happen and planning to be prepared for those unfortunate circumstances. So if you're facing a challenge or difficulties, you want a 6 because 6s think of everything that could go wrong and they make allowances and preparations for that. But when it comes down to it, it's like they don't trust their own ability to prepare, even though the rest of us see them as being very prepared people. So the gear that's off, you might say, in 6s is their ability to quickly reason for themselves that they know enough to be okay. It's like they need reassurance from outside sources that they know enough and they're ready enough that they're going to be okay. So that keeps them in a perpetual state of angst, tension, nervousness, fear, questioning, and everything that comes from that. That's, again, now, hear me say this. This is 6s in the outhouse, okay? This is not the 6 cabin. This is when 6s are under stress, all right? 6s under stress are going to be like what I'm describing here. If you're like that all the time, then recognize you're not living in your cabin anymore. You're living in the outhouse. And you can stay there for as long as you want. You know, if you want to stay there to get relief and you just, are in that perpetual state of unhealth, you can stay there as long as you want. Just realize, most people are not going to want to come visit you when you're in that state. Most people are not going to want to have a relationship with you when you're locked up in that bunker of an outhouse, planning worst case scenarios. That's not where people want to join you in life, okay? And I think that might be a wake-up call for some of you 6s because you live like this all the time. And that means you're in a state of unhealth. You need to make your way back up to your cabin. It's going to take some intention and some work for you to make your way back up to that cabin. You're going to have to decide, first observe, this is where I'm at. I'm not in my cabin where I'm safe and secure. I'm down in the outhouse, on a cold, stormy night, and it stinks in here, and I don't want to live here. I don't want to stay here longer than I have to. So maybe you're not convinced yet that you're in the outhouse. So let's look a little deeper at what it looks like for 6s to be in the outhouse. 6s might mistrust others, especially those in authority. They could, under pressure, withdraw and hide while being suspicious of the hidden agendas of others. And there's probably some truth into that. There are some people that have hidden agendas, but I don't think most people do. At least not like 6s would think. I mean, people have hidden agendas like they want to get home early, and so they're going to get their work done as fast as they can and sneak out the door so they can get home early. But hidden agendas like people are trying to take over and destroy and kill offices and, destroy employees and assassinate characters. And I don't think in most healthy work environments that's the case. But 6s in their unhealth can be suspicious of about everybody and the hidden agendas of everybody. Again, 6s may do all they can do to avoid conflict, at least outright direct conflict, because remember, they're a fear type. They're not an anger type, they're a fear type, and so they may be afraid of direct conflict. So they may be afraid of your agenda and not feel like they can trust you, but also not have the courage to come and talk to you about it because they fear conflict and they avoid that conflict. And so that's going to make them move into covert areas of manipulation and subversion. So see what I mean by loyal? Yeah, they can be very loyal, but they can also be very skeptical. And 6s are like that, sweet and sour. Okay? They're for you, and then all of a sudden they're against you, and you don't know always what happened. Because sometimes the breakdown is inside them. In other words, they start feeling the anxiety in themselves, and then they go looking for, I wonder who's causing this anxiety. And then they might decide, for whatever reasons, that you are especially if you're the boss, because you should be making them feel safe and they don't feel safe. So why? And then they'll start looking for the reason why in your words, in your expressions, in your mannerisms, in your behavior. You see what happens? The anxiety is felt first, and then they'll start trying to figure out who's causing it. See, 6s are going to feel anxiety first, and then they're going to want to act on it. Feeling and action are together, and thinking has been separated from it. They're a thinking type, but they're in the middle of the thinking type, which means the thinking is disconnected from feeling and action. What that means is 6s are going to feel anxiety and fear, and then they're immediately going to think, what do I need to do to take action to be safe? Okay? That's what's driving their personality. Then thinking is disconnected from that. If you were to sit down and reason with them and say, are you under threat right now? Are you in danger of losing your job right now? Is there a manager sitting in front of you who's telling you? Is your husband... Okay, so 6s get stuck in doubt. They get stuck in maybe ambivalence and can have difficulty making decisions. And stressed out 6s can get caught up in the inner conflict between appeasing other people and complying with them and rebelling against them. And so that's that sweet and sour thing again. Conspiracy theories, can have a hard time trusting others, can again be afraid of expressing their fears, and can get very aggressive and refuse to cooperate, or passive aggressive and refuse to cooperate. So under stress, they become more rigid. They become more like they're just performing a service or a role at work, and not really be very present in their work. They could have frantic attempts to gather resources to ensure their survival, driven to achieve results and produce results. Their anxiety is going to go up, may become even deceitful in order to survive. Remember, the sin of 3s is deceit. Or try to appear more confident and more efficient, which is all 3 stuff, competency and efficiency. So that's 6s in their outhouse. Now let's suppose 6s are in their cabin where things are good and they feel calm, no stress, healthy, and they start to integrate up to the top of that hill where the orchard is and pick from the fruit and are healthy. What does that look like when they go to 9? Well, 9s, think are peacemakers. 9s are peace-loving, peaceful type people that can be kind of numb to life. And so in that sense, like 6s their fears kind of subside, they're less anxious, and they kind of have that numbness about fear in a positive way. So on the high side, 6s, when they are more self-aware and conscious, can be more observant, more in understanding. They can still read situations and people very well, but do so with more of courage and confidence and a general sense that things are going to be okay. In other words, they're not feeling that distress and that breath of the wolves chasing them down. They have more courage, more confidence. They evaluate the data and analyze it and come to the conclusion that they're going to be okay. And they have a deep interest in people, and they want to be more supportive of others, and they want to come alongside people and encourage them. They develop stronger relationships based on mutual trust. They identify with the underdog, and the everyman. They want to be more egalitarian, more mindful of what the general person needs, and how to help everybody and how we can all be benefited from decisions. They're not trying to stand out and rise above the group, but they're just supportive of the group. They may still feel some of that fear and anxiety, but they're able to move forward anyway. They're able to go forward anyway, trusting in themselves and trusting in others, and act more courageously. They'll assess their risks wisely and balance those, and then base their decisions more on factual evidence and also on their gut. And not be so distrusting of others. They're more able to trust their advisors and their colleagues. After consideration, they have more faith in themselves and others, and find the best way to move things forward despite the risks, the threats, the problems, the potential problems that might happen. And they're not projecting all their fears anymore on their environment and on their colleagues. So in short, they become more healthy, more peaceful, more trusting, can see all sides of a situation like nines can. And like nines are less suspicious and more relaxed, trust their own gut, and not as worried. Nines kind of have that song, "Don't Worry, Be Happy," playing in their head all the time. And so at that point, when sixes are healthy and they're integrated, they can kind of benefit from that peacefulness and that hope and that joy. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. As always, be present to life. And for a six, I think that means is look at the way things really are around you, not what you think could go wrong, but are you okay? And if you really did take a pulse of life right now, you might realize I'm not really under any threat. I'm okay. Nobody's out to get me. A lot of this is in my head, and maybe they're not out to get me. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the situation. Maybe I could relax a little bit, and maybe I'll be okay. And being present to life, I think for a six means to don't let your fears get the best of you. You're smarter than you think you are. You're sharper than you think you are, and you were born to solve problems. And when backed into a corner, you can overcome. You know that you have what it takes to get it done. So why worry about 90% of which won't even come to pass? You'll stop yourself from moving forward because of your fear of what moving forward is going to mean. So take a chill pill. There you go. If you guys, are helped by these videos, in the description, I've got a link if you want to talk. I've got FaceTime and Skype, and we can connect other ways, but I find myself doing more and more appointments with people, just, talking them through, what's going on in their life from the perspective of the Enneagram, and it seems to be really helpful to people. So that information is in the description. Whatever I can do to help you, I'm on your side. I just want to come alongside of you and like a six would say, be supportive of you. All right, guys, take care and blessings.